Setting up. All right, we are live. It is so good when technology works. So Jennifer Bleam, Cybersecurity Sherpa here, and I am very excited. We have Bill Moore on the line with us, and we are going to be talking for the next maybe 20 minutes. Bill, I didn't ask you how long you had, but I know you have had a very, very long day. So for those who are not familiar with what you do and who you are, can you give us a quick intro, and then we'll get into the topic of the hour, which is talking about the CARES Act or this stimulus package that we're all interested to learn about.
Sure. Bill Moore, CPA, MBA. I hate those buckets, but I've been a private equity backed CFO or CEO for probably over the past 20 years. And a couple of years ago, decided to go back just into financial consulting. I've run my own companies, not just a CPA firm, ran party rental companies as CFO, big companies, small companies. And so I've got the short fingernails for the payroll stress and making and all that stuff work. I've been there and done that. Was an Army officer, jumped out of planes, crazy background. But at this point, I love being sort of a soldier for these MSPs to help them do things on the financial side. I've raised about $500 million in debt and equity financing through the years. Some of it was public offering, so the number is really big. But the bottom line is I've been there and done that when it comes time to financing and helping people raise money and get cash for their companies. So.
Awesome. So I know you have done a fair amount of studying inside of this what is now a bill. So we were talking about that in the green room about a bill is now a law. And so we can probably skip that, although we'll see if we get any questions coming in about what that means. Yeah. But let's jump in. Let me just give you a quick open-ended question and just take this where you want to. What do we need to know as MSP business owners and those in the vendor space, but primarily MSPs? What do we need to know about the CARES Act, the stimulus package?
The CARES Act is a lot of money available to you to be able to help maintain your operations and take care of your employees. The MSP space manages the central nervous system of our economy, the networks of all of these businesses that do that. From whatever customers you have, they have to be up and running and using technology. Can you imagine these hospitals now without critical infrastructure? I'm sorry for the orthodontists and dentists and certain industries and stuff, but they all have networks that need to be maintained and data and information. That's so critical of what's going on to find out how the virus is and what's going on in your neighborhoods. But most importantly, our MSPs are in the business of helping their customers' infrastructure stay up to speed and running. So they're probably very busy right now, getting a lot of people in the last 2 weeks, making sure everybody learns how to work from home. And then April billings are going to be coming up with monthly recurring. And there might be some questions in that to see what's going on. So my wife knows I'm on this live video. Why does she call me during this?
I wonder if there is a technical problem.
No, we're live. We're live. It says live.
All right, good.
She'll text me.
It's the joys of live video, right? That's how people know it's live. It's like,
hey, at least I'm in my war room, and I'm not gonna have kids in the background coming.
I think we have all had kids or neighbors or people trimming trees and things like that in the background.
That reporter with his kids in the background from CNN, it's like everybody gets to experience that this week. So
indeed,
pretty funny. So, but bottom line is take care of your family, take care of your health. I was on a call the other day and with a client, and he got a 911 call from his wife and who was diagnosed positive. So take care of your family. Kids are probably at home bugging you unless you got a war room to go to. Take care of your customers, take care of your employees, because there's multiple layers of people that you have to be able to take care of. And that's what this bill is for. There's so much from both sides of the aisle, but all this money is to be able to really think about taking care of the employees through credits, through money and things. So that's the underlying thing. And then let's manage your cash flow so that you can do this. There's a lot of options available for you.
So how quickly do we need to act? Because it's hard for us to wrap our heads around. You know, we hear trillions of dollars, but how quickly is that going to be gone. So, and if it's quick, then what should MSPs do today to get their share of that?
Well, there was already a $7 or $8 billion first round that was passed. It's available. In fact, it was so available that their website got overran and even had some security issues. People saw other people's data when they were online doing things. So they've switched that to a paper application only that you can then upload to Box. I don't know that recommend do that because you don't have confirmation. Send it via email or fax if you still have a fax. I still have a fax or a fax number on eFax so that I can hit the IRS, or even mail it in. I recommend completing that now, and that's probably 4 to 6 months of operating expenses available to that. That'll be phased in over time. That process, though, is going to take 3 to 4 weeks before money gets in the bank. So this weekend, get that application done and upload it. You need that application, you need tax returns, you need a statement of liabilities and some personal financial statements. That's all it needs to get started. But in 2 weeks, the underwriters are going to be contacting you to figure out what's going on. What does your cash flow look like? What are the financials? That's where I think our firm really adds value to be able to help people manage through that process, because everybody's got a business to run. So apply for that SBA loan now. The CARES Act that was passed today, the applications for that, it's a different part of the SBA. I don't know how quickly they're going to be able to flip that switch, but there's a lot of money available for that. So get ready for that, because there are forgivable loans that are in there, things that can cover 8 weeks of payroll, mortgage, rent expense, and utilities. That's the element where, hey, let's take care of the employees to be able to do that stuff so you can keep your building and keep your employees going. And a lot of other things that we can go through line by line, about 7 different items that are really, really helpful for small businesses around. So apply for that SBA loan and be prepared for the next round. Get as much cash reserve as you can so that you can bridge this gap. However, we don't know where the other side of this is. I've been thinking 3 to 4 months for this, but who knows? Some businesses might not, or some businesses won't come back from this. Mm-hmm. But others are going to be coming back from that, and that'll be a very much of a big surge in demand, because now they have to come back online and make sure everybody is now no longer working from home, but they're working in the office. So the work that I admire the work that the MSPs do, because you're getting phone calls at 8 o'clock at night from somebody saying, hey, I can't get on the internet. Of course, I think I've been one of those guys that did that years ago. Chris, if you're listening, sorry for that, but I understand.
Very good. Okay, so you mentioned quickly the list of documentation that we should start to get in order. Can you go over those items again?
Well, the things to apply, it's the loan applications available on the SBA website. Then you need your tax returns. If you haven't filed for 2019, that's okay. They want 2018. 2019, they'll need your financials for that. So a profit and loss balance sheet. And then the next round, when you get to the underwriter, you're going to have to get that up to speed for February or March to see where that's at. Because at the end of the day, the underwriter is going to look at your financials and see, were you really spending that much money on rent and payroll? So they're not going to want to see somebody making financials up, because those expenses would have had to have been in place prior to February 15th, 2020 to be eligible to be forgiven on this next round. Then there's a statement of your personal liabilities or personal financial statement. So gather that together, and all that information is available on the SBA website. You can download that, and then it's basically filling out a loan application. And so all that stuff is available. The second phase, get that in as soon as possible. The second phase is the financials and your cash flow forecast, and how to survive over the next coming weeks before the big money comes in, and then be ready for the next round of funding and what we can do. Because you can apply for both loans, and the next one may subsume that because of forgivable piece. We just have to see how that plays out. The regulations and all the other stuff hasn't happened yet. It's still the raw bill that just got signed, and we'll have to see how that plays out.
And what about the $10,000 loan or grant? I know I had to throw that one at you. Can we talk about that for a second? This is fascinating to me.
It is. I swear this is fraud if it wasn't listed in the dang law, but it's there. So we have these loans that can be paid back, and there's $350 billion loans in the CARES Act. That's what was signed today. So it's not available to get, you can't get cash on Tuesday for this. But once this second round is available and you apply, 3 days later, you can get, it's $10,000. And the SBA can give you an advance against your loan. If you're subsequently denied that loan, you don't have to pay that back.
Unreal.
So they're giving money out to be able to help support the business. The extra $600 per week in unemployment and all the other stuff. Okay, that sort of makes sense. But before this, if I had said this, I mean, that's just fraudulent advertising. But no, that's what's in there and stuff. So little crazy. I had a client in Manhattan was calling me and asking about, hey, how do we get the $10,000 grant? And we've already applied for the first one. It's like, well, I don't think that applies to the first loan yet. They might do that. We'll see. I'm sure the SBA is inundated. I called them the other day and I was caller number 566. I'm in a group and somebody in there, they're calling the SBA every day to update with questions and stuff. So we're getting information from that as quickly as we can. So yeah, that $10,000 is an advance against the loan. And if you don't get approved, you don't have to pay that back. So at a minimum, $10,000 loan. I know, I'm still scratching my head thinking about that stuff. So
hard to argue with the government, right? If they want to give away free money, then, and I know it's not really free, but
I like approaching tax strategies. I love the Augusta loophole. I love setting up an accountable plan, switching over to an S Corp, all those little things to be able to minimize the tax as possible. This is a whole new game. You're playing with house money. Like, okay, let's get that to work. So
just when you thought you couldn't learn anything new, right? They threw this one at you.
Yeah, this is interesting. You will have to track for the forgiveness of this loan, though. That's not the $10,000. So this next round of funding, they're going to fund up to, I think it's 8 weeks of payroll, rent, mortgage, and utilities to keep the lights on. You're going to have to track that through that period of time and submit. It's like submitting an expense report so that portion of the loan can be forgiven. So think about, let's say if you've got $10,000 a month in operating expenses and they're going to give you 4 months. And those are just guesses on my part. I have companies that are much bigger than that, and they're probably doing $100,000 a month in certain expenses. You know what? You got to keep track of that so that you can say, here's my justification for writing off $40,000 or whatever it is of that loan and stuff. So that says the government is going to pay your rent and your employees for that period of time.
Okay.
Couple other things in the pocket. I'll move on to some of the other things on the list. It's available for more money or less taxes. It's crazy how all this is working out. You can take money out of your retirement plan without the 10% early withdrawal penalty. If you're over 59 and a half, you wouldn't have that anyway. But if you're under, you can take money out and have that penalty. You still have to pay tax on it, but the original tax, but that penalty disappears. So that's an opportunity. You do have to show that it was related to COVID distributions and not just going and buying a new whatever it is and stuff. Mm-hmm. The original disaster loan is still there. The first one, the 7B, the SBA 7B one is there, and that's for things that aren't necessarily payroll, rent, mortgage, interest, and utilities. It was originally set up as sort of like a working capital loan, how much money you need to be able to do that. Then they added this other thing. So I think these loans are going to work together nicely, and the second loan might overtake and subsume the first one. So we'll see how that happens. You can defer your payroll taxes for 2 years. This is on the employer side. So as you continue to pay the employees, you've got your 7.65% of payroll taxes. You'll be able to defer that. That's not completely going away, but you don't have to pay that until 50% of it in 2021 and 50% in 2022. So I wonder what they're going to do if people go out of business, but we don't have to worry about that in the MSP space, right? So lots of work for us to do. The individual rebates, you've heard about that. It's actually, people are going to get checks $1,200 for an individual, $2,400 for married couples. There's AGI limits. I've seen $150,000 was in the bill, and some people have bumped that up to $198,000. I want to verify that, but that's money that if you filed in 2018 and they have your banking information, look for that money to show up in your bank. They said April 6th, but give it a little bit more time. But that's money that's going to be available to individuals. That includes your employees. So that's going to be very helpful. So that, you know, don't think that you don't have to pay them more or less and stuff. You have to. That's money that they've earned. It's going to be a credit. That's actually an advance on a tax credit from, I believe it's going to be 2020 tax return. I don't think they could go back and change the 2019 tax returns at this point, at least the forms and everything. So that's an advance on a future tax credit. Much like the advanced premium tax credit is for the healthcare, it'll be like that. So it's not just free money, it'll be accounted for. If for some reason,
not in advance on a tax refund.
no, it's a new tax credit that they're going to get. So it doesn't matter what you've paid in. This is an additional reduction in your tax on your 2020 tax return. They're just going to give it to you now if you're already in the system.
Okay.
So you don't, if you didn't, if for whatever reason you moved or they don't have your banking information, you're not losing that. It's just that it will be applied. I'm sure everybody would like to have that money in the bank, but the IRS, well, the Department of Treasury is going to try to get that money into your hands sooner rather than later. I think there was part of the Bush tax cuts. There were checks mailed out, a couple $100 each. So we'll see what that looks like and how that gets put out there.
Okay. So we have a couple of questions coming in on the live. Are you okay if I interrupt you for just a second? Okay, so someone said they've actually got a retail location. He needs to put a new heater in the store. If he pulls money out of his 401k for that during this time, are they going to allow that without the 10% penalty?
If you can connect the need for a new heater related to it being for this virus, I mean, would you have done that? I think you can build a case for that. It's a retail location is probably shut down right now. I would think some of them are, well, most of them are, but building a case for that, yeah, I can see how you can make the case for that.
Okay,
it's sort of improvement. It's not payroll, but it's justification for that. And I know heaters can be a lot.
And 150,000 married and 198,000 being the cap. Is that?
No, it was what was in the bill that I actually read said 150. Once you're above $150,000, it starts to phase out fairly quickly. And I think once you're at 160, that phases out pretty quickly and stuff. So I've got to verify the 198. But once that's the first part, and once there, it may, like every $1,000 that you might lose $50 of it or something like that. I've seen scales like that. It's a typical phase out situation for that.
Okay, got it. All right, so you were going through your punch list of 7 items. I don't know how far we got through those. I wanted to make sure we got to some of the questions.
I got 2 more. One is a net operating loss. So the 2017 Tax Cut and Job Act suspended the carryback of net operating losses. Let's say you made money in 2017 and 18 and 19, and you paid taxes on that. In 2020, you end up getting a loss. What that law used to do was say you can now carry that loss forward only. It used to be the case that you could carry it back, and so you could go apply for it's called a tentative refund. It's sort of like amending your return, but not really. So if you've had suspended losses for 2018 and 19, you can now go and apply for a refund to apply that to the prior years and get money from that. So the carryback rules are being retroactively applied. So if you've had a loss in 2018 or 19, or potentially going to have a loss for 2020, you're going to be able to then spread that out over a 5-year period to be able to see if you can get money back from that. So if you have a $100,000 loss from 2020 and you had $200,000 of income in 2018, you can apply that loss to the 2018 and then get a refund of the taxes you paid from 2018 because of your loss from 2020. So a little bit of whack-a-mole of what year that this applies to it, but it's more money available for losses incurred for this. So, and then this is a big one. If you're continuing to pay employees, there's going to be a refundable payroll tax credit for 50% of the wages. So the payroll tax is on the employer side is 7.65, let's call it 8% of the wages. And you can then have a part of that be refunded to you up to $10,000 per employee. Again, this is under their focus on taking care of the employees during this downturn, helping alleviate some of the costs that are there. So it's not complete giveaways. It helps if you continue to employ the people. I mean, your customers need them to be working and their family needs them to be working. So this is helpful. The bottom line is there's probably a 10% reduction in your total cost as an employer for wages through these employment tax credits and deferrals and stuff. So they're hitting it from multiple angles. We'll have to see how this really impacts the net operating costs and everything. But I like the fact that there's a financial bridge between COVID as of March 15th, where we were just 2 weeks ago, to where we're going to be 4 months down the road. Hey, there's at least a financial bridge to be able to help as much as possible. So that's the highlights of what we are seeing. We've got a lot of people booking with me already to be able to go through this, and we're helping navigate this landscape that was created about 5 hours ago, and trying to make sense of it and try to keep these businesses open and operating as well as they can.
Now, I'm not sure what level of detail you've been able to dig into the actual document that was signed, because I know that there's changes that can happen at the last minute. David is asking, he believes that there are a lot of restrictions on the payroll tax and other benefits, in that if you do get the 8 weeks of forgivable loan, you can't get some of the other benefits. Do you know if that's still the case?
So the second loan came out and they were saying, well, if you already got the first one, you're not going to be eligible for the second one. That was old SBA thinking. What they did with this new bill is that it would be for different things. So this refundable part of the CARES Act is for those 4 things: payroll, mortgage interest, rent, and utilities. They would carve that out of the first one and move that over to from plan A to plan B. And so the underwriters are going to work with that to be able to do that, because there's other costs. I mean, you've got monthly software subscriptions that may not necessarily be considered utilities. I mean, we've got $2,000 to $2,000 a month in software things that we have to pay every month. And for you, for this space, that's a utility. You've got to pay your monthly licensing, your user things and stuff. And if they don't see that as a utility, then you have to be able to take care of that. So yeah, I think there's a way around that. We won't really know until we're on the phone or visiting with an underwriter over the next 2 weeks and see how that plays. But the language as it is, there is some gotcha language in there, but there's also, it looks like they're going to be able to work together to make that you got to see both things together and see how that instead of reading one particular line and taking that out of context. So
it's amazing how quickly this is changing, because I know just articles that were written 3 days ago are really almost outdated now, because things have been evolving so very quickly.
Yeah, the Senate bill that was produced, whatever day it was that Sunday? Was that Monday? When they finally did that came out, and then I saw that there was drafts of that from before, and you've got to be very careful with how that comes into play and stuff. But what's out there now is pretty good, but nobody really likes to read that. But in searching for things today on that article, like the $10,000 free money thing, there was a lot of misinformation out there. And I have other accountants asking about how the NOL works, because they haven't had to actually do the carryback. And that's a complicated process. And we got to remember how to do that. It's Form 1045. Oh yeah, let's go brush up on how to do that, because suddenly it's relevant. So we're going to navigate this minefield for it. And we want to support our business owners so that they can continue to run their business, take care of the employees, and not have to worry about this headache, because it's a separate job. And if we can be efficient because we're dealing with multiple MSPs in the same type of business and support them because we know what the revenues and expenses look like and how we can explain that to an underwriter and support them, we're gonna help do that. So
Okay, perfect. I'm scanning through the comments. I don't see anything else, but I'll kind of vamp here for a second because there's always a bit of a delay. It's about a minute to a minute and a half delay. So we'll see if anything pops up.
yeah.
In the meantime, I did include your link inside of this video's description. So you've got a Calendly link. I would imagine your schedule is filling up pretty quickly. I know we had to jump through a few hoops to get you on. So I appreciate your time. The bill is really pretty much still hot off the presses 4 or 5 hours ago, and you're on the West Coast. So have you even had anything to eat today?
Yes, I went and grabbed the salad. I told somebody in a CPA group, I go, I really need to go get a drink. I need to go to a bar. Oh, damn, I can't even do that. So
hopefully you stocked up on that before the lockdown.
Yeah, no, I've got my water. I'm in my war room, and this is my financial war. I got to come here to escape from the kids and stuff because they're playing Fortnite and our internet really sucks at home. So I come over here to be able to deal with things. And
I'll be honest, Bill, I wasn't sure what you were reaching under your desk to grab. I kind of thought you might pull out some vodka or some Jack Daniels or something.
No, this is water. So I'm talking too much. You would hear a different speech pattern if I was having something else. So, but yeah, definitely, this is just a crazy time. And if we can take care of each other and value our human interactions and do Zoom calls. I'm not texting and calling my mom. I'm FaceTiming her now. She only lives 3 blocks away, but still, and it's just, my dad even called me today. It's like, hey, let's see each other and do stuff. This is one of those times we're all going to remember, and our customers are going to come back. The MSP space is going to recover. And if we can take care of our employees and their family, they're going to remember this for a long time. And now we've got financial assistance to be able to do this. It's crazy, but I'm happy that there's at least, it's not light at the end of the tunnel. It's like it's a plan is beginning to form, and come Monday, we'll see what the landscape brings, because it looks on my calendar, I've got meetings scheduled with people all day tomorrow. So much for a Saturday off. So
there are people that would probably trade places with you right now, though, right? I keep telling my kids that, like, I know we're all working because I'm working and my husband is working, but I said, guys, we have so much to be thankful for. So
we're very blessed. After the March 16th corporate deadline, I scheduled like 4 hours in the morning just to rest, block time and stuff. And ever since then, somebody let go of the slingshot that I didn't know I was in. And it's crazy. And my appointments is just blowing up it's not tax stuff. It's just people really wanted to do this. And I'm so thankful that I started with the technology industry, being able to focus my firm. I used to just be a client. It was a guy that helped me implement my network for my company up in Massachusetts. And then when I moved back to California, my first company was an IT company. And I heard what this MSP thing was. I'm like, oh, great. Now I'm just thankful that I'm able to help you guys, and that we've partnered to be able to do this, because great things are going to be happening. And I'm just looking forward to helping people and getting through this year and see what September is going to bring. When football season finally rolls back around, it's like, all right, we can all sit down, have a beer, and watch sports again. That'll be good.
And talk about the days we all remember when. So
crazy. All right.
Well, thank you again for your time. I'll make sure that your link is functioning inside of this video, but I appreciate it. I know you've had a long day, so I will let you go.
Great. Thanks, Jennifer.
Absolutely. Take care.
Talk soon.